Some things just go together. Wine and cheese, flowers in springtime, and yes, books and bottles. We pair your favorite author with your favorite drink. Your host of Books and Bottles, Benita Johnson.
Hi, welcome to Books and Bottles. I'm your host, Benita Johnson, and we are back with another wonderful episode introducing you to an author, his work, and we're pairing it with the wine. Y'all hear something different? We got a little music in the background. Y'all hear that? Just sway. Just sway. All right, so we're about to get into this book, y'all. This is going to be a great show, but before we do, we want to make sure you share it because we want to grow this thing. This is a wonderful show. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and we've introduced you to a whole lot of great authors. So today we have a new friend. His name is Mr. Kevin Patrick, and he wrote a book called Fatherhood. Can y'all see that? This light is killing me, right? But y'all can see it. But we'll make sure you see it. So without further ado, let's bring on Kevin. Hello.
Good evening, all.
How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I'm excited about this.
Oh, absolutely. So when I was reading your book, I could just feel proud dad just exuding on all of the pages.
Yeah, that's true. That book poured out of me like a birth of a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a proud moment. Really excited about wanting to leave a legacy. Really, that's my book is a love letter to my daughter that I get the opportunity to share and let other folk in.
And that's beautiful. A lot of times we don't know a lot of the aspects of our parents' lives. And so you kind of put it all out here. So she has a wonderful reference and it's a tremendous gift. So tell us about you before we jump into this book. What made you an author?
Okay. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Oakland, California. Ended up, my aunt taught me to play golf when I was young and ended up getting pretty good at the game and ended up getting a golf scholarship to go to Grambling.
Wow.
So, that was my first trip to Louisiana and loved it. Wouldn't trade that for anything. And met my wife there. Married. I was a computer science major. I've worked for some of the big companies, IBM, Sybase. And so anyway,
so I ain't gonna put your business out there in terms of your age, but during the time that you were playing golf and you went on a golf scholarship, that was a bit before, golf became a regular Sunday television special pre-Tiger Woods. So you were a trailblazer.
Yes, I was 19, and I tell that I'm happy for my age. I graduated from high school in 1981. So
okay.
Probably started playing when I was about 12, and that was if you've taken a peek at my story. So I grew up in East Oakland. I grew up in the neighborhood, and I used to feel some kind of way about coming out of the house with golf clubs because it wasn't cool. I was the only person that I knew, definitely in my neighborhood, that was playing golf. So that was the transition.
Honestly, where I grew up, we had a golf course 2 blocks away. And I never saw anybody who looked like us playing. So I understand.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this book.
Okay.
So your book is a memoir and it starts with a very significant incident in your life. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I opened up the book the night of my car accident where I was actually paralyzed. So when my daughter was 2 months old, I had a car accident. I was driving back from Denver, going to Boulder. We lived in Boulder at the time, and I was working at IBM. I got close to home, fell asleep, and so that's how I opened up the story. And I take you, give you a deep dive into my life. I let you kind of get into my head. I won't give you all the details of the story
Sure,
because
because we
I
want
don't
folks to buy the book.
exactly. Yeah.
So, but I do have to say this, and it's a testament to, I think, it has to be how you were raised. What you mentioned about that night, despite what you were learning about yourself, that, you would probably not walk, you said you still have your brain. And so,
Yeah.
that was kind of like finding that silver lining in something that, could have been tragic, but it was definitely life changing.
Oh, sure. And you never know how you're going to respond under pressure. Certain things you can't plan for. And had somebody asked before how I would have responded, I had no idea. But in that moment, that's exactly where I was at. My cousin came and met me at the hospital, and I'm about to go to surgery, and I know that I'm not moving, and I can look in his eyes, and I know that he's concerned. And as he was being concerned, I just told him because this is what I felt. I was like, I'm okay. I still have my brain.
Yeah.
I mean, every bit of that too. I don't know
That's
where I found
tremendous.
it. Yeah.
So what were you thinking in terms of, you had this 2-month-old baby, and I have kids, and so when we have kids, we're already down the road. Once we have them, we're already where they're 10 in our brains, and we're thinking about these things that we're going to do with them. Where were you in that respect? How did you feel about that?
So for me, I don't know if people know this, but when you get dropped to the bottom, when you're under pressure, when you're under the gun for real, you process differently, right? My whole life flashed in front of me. I knew it, and the thing that came to my mind was to be a dad. I can't really explain it, but it was crystal clear. In the middle of insanity, I knew my charge, and I was committed to doing everything that I could to fulfill it.
Okay. And because your daughter was so young, she really didn't know you any other way.
Right.
So she was, as she's coming up, her dad got wheels, that's like,
oh my goodness.
That's that could be a fun game.
Yeah. And she didn't know, right? And It's funny, as she got older, she meets friends and she gets stories and this, that, and the other. So she's learned more about me. But you're right. From 2 months old, everything that she knows is this wheelchair ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a part of in the beginning, where you were talking about going through your the rehab experience, and you talked about the rehab y'all went on trips and did all these things, and you passed the golf course. Was that a point where you were kind of like, this is my love, and this is the one thing that maybe, I'm not gonna say you couldn't do it, because you probably figure out a way.
Yeah.
That was one thing that was,
that was a big deal. So I was in a hospital. I was in Boulder Community Hospital, intensive care for 2 days, 8 days in regular care, at Craig Hospital for 4.5 months. So within this 4.5 month time, we had an occasion to go. We were going to the zoo, and the zoo is next to a golf course. So I hadn't really thought about it because my whole life had changed. So you're under pressure. You're not thinking about a lot of things that you used to do. Right by this golf course, I look out the window and it hit me. I was like, ooh, I'm starting to tear up, and I'm in this van with other folks in a wheelchair. And I'm thinking like, okay, I can't let you see me crying right now. I can't break down now. But that was a big deal when I passed the golf course. And I liken it to a love relationship, that you had, maybe a good boyfriend for you or a good girlfriend, and you loved her, you loved him, and things just didn't work out. And I saw her, but I knew it was done. It was a wrap.
I understand that. So I'm gonna tell you this quick crazy story.
Yeah.
So when I was 16, that's when I had, we got the love of our life. at 16, right? And so, so we broke up, and the song that was like real popular on the radio at the time was Force MD's "Tender Love." To this day, I will be 53 in like 2 weeks. I hate that song. So I hear you.
Right.
I
it's
do
a wrap.
understand.
It's done, huh?
Yeah, I turn it. You know, do not play that song.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So, I'm gonna fast forward, and we're gonna come back. But another part of that book that I could feel you when your daughter was visiting colleges. And because I have, my oldest is a girl, and when she was visiting college, I felt what you felt. Like, we went to all these colleges, and you just want them to make a decision. Yeah. But when they got to that HBCU, you were like, you didn't want to be like that parent to say, yeah, this is the one you got to pick. Yeah. You want to be that, but it was inside of you. It was like, this is the one we got to pick. So tell us how you were feeling.
Oh my goodness.
Tell us about your poker face that you were trying not to show her that this is where I want you to be.
Right. So my daughter, she was a good student in high school. So we had a plan that we would go visit colleges. So we had this college that she's talking about, where she actually went. I'll tell you that when I get there. But we visited schools in California. We visited Cal Berkeley, Stanford, Davis. We visited in Atlanta. We visited Emory, Spelman, Georgia Tech, and then on our last trip, we were in North Carolina, and we visited Duke, Chapel Hill, and our last stop was North Carolina A&T. So this whole deal, my daughter has never really given me any feel about any of the schools. I thought Stanford was cool. I thought they had a nice little vibe. But anyway, so we get to Stanford. We get to North Carolina A&T, and the presentation and the warmth and the love was just phenomenal. And unbeknownst to me, I found out later, but after we had this presentation by a lady in the admission office, Asha told my wife that she said, "This is it." So I was pleased with speeches. I knew she wanted to be an engineer. They had a great program.
Oh, they have an excellent.
They still have a great program. And I tell you this, so Asha was born here in Colorado, and I knew that it would be a good thing for her to get out of Colorado, to be around a place where she can see her people, because the love is different. I won't go into too much detail, but sometimes our girls, our women, aren't appreciated by men that look like them as much as I think they should be, right?
Okay.
So happy for her. She loved the choice, so I stopped there.
I was when I was reading that part and you were naming these schools, I'm gonna tell you, I was feeling some kind of way for like this second, because like he said, they took this girl to Duke and to UNC Chapel Hill. They couldn't drive up the highway to UVA. That's where I went to.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, so but I understood it so much, and I embraced it. I remember on going on tours with my daughter, I was the exact same way. And we have to know our kids and know that although I chose this path, my daughter wasn't that person. She fit perfectly at Virginia State University. So that was her thing. And so I always tell folks I wear orange and blue. It's for the Who's and VSUs. So
nice. I get it because we have to support them, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we have wishes, we have aspirations, but one of our biggest jobs, I think, is to support.
We do.
One of the things that I wrote in the book that you may remember is when I was in high school, and she told me one day casually, she said, "I figured out what I want to major in, Dad." And she says, "I want to be an engineer." We hadn't talked about it, right? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Cal 1, Cal 2, differential equations, linear algebra. I'm going through my head about this is tough, but I knew that I had to encourage, and I couldn't be a dream killer, because if we're not careful, I want to put my fear on her. So
yeah,
I said all that.
Well, you are an engineer. Well, you are an engineer,
yeah, right? I know how hard it is.
Yeah, but she's smart.
Hey, we grew, we worked, and she, and she showed me that. She graduated summa cum laude. She killed it. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome.
You're right, but you've been around enough. People with great talent sometimes get sidetracked.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know lots of folks. We started with those 4-year academic scholarships, and the air was thin when we finished. So.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring on our wine expert, and so we can sip a little bit before we get back to the book talk. Okay. So today with us, we have again my good friend and sister, Miss Nicole Kearney, for Sip and Share Wines. Hey, Nicole.
Hello, Queen sister. How are you? And how are you, brother? Love the story.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Welcome back to the show.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm loving the story. I love the father, that fatherhood. I'm an advocate, I'm a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
So
that's big.
Yeah.
I understand that. Like, I still call my daddy like every day. And like, I'm the person to be like, hold on, what you want to do to my car? Wait a minute. Let me put you on.
Yeah, exactly.
Daddy, this is what this man's saying. Is this right? Should I be paying it? Yeah. And I'm grown. But
yeah, I would do the same thing. My daddy was a bricklayer. He don't know about fixing no cars, but
wait, my dad was in the army. He practiced medicine. I'd be like, I be calling my mom. I don't want to talk to you right now. Put your husband on the phone. Some things I'm gonna call you back, but I need this. So
absolutely,
fathers are super important.
Tell the folks about Sip and Share. I can't even talk. I've been sipping too much.
Yep, Sip and Share Wines. We've been around since 2016. We started out repping other Black and women winemakers, and then in 2018 we made the shift to become a winery. So we are the only Black-owned vegan winery in the country. So we make all vegan wines, and that's all we make. We produce everything in-house. It's a small team of us. It's about 4 of us full-time that are in the winery day in, day out. And we love it. We love what we do.
I have to make you talk about vegan wines, because a lot of people are saying right now, aren't all wines vegan? Isn't that chicken?
Right.
So
right. And we get that.
Right.
So a lot of your mass-produced wines use animal byproducts to clear them. So they're going to use egg whites, fish bladder, pork gelatin, and we use clay. So we use just indigenous clay, bentonite clay, which most people have had, like if you had a clay mask or any type of facial, and it doesn't change the taste or the quality of the wine. And we just wanted, us as Black people to drink better, or as we say, sip better, but still enjoy good quality wine. And that's what we're about. We're about the community, wine, community, culture. That's it.
That's really good. So would you say that most small production houses tend to do vegan? Because sometimes those processes that mass-produced wineries go through are expensive, and sometimes the limited productions can't afford to do that.
Yeah, I would say a lot of them don't, just like you said, because of the expense. But we decided up front, because my family is predominantly all plant-based.
Okay.
And so my parents, or not my parent, my mother, my father is not, but my siblings are, I'm pescatarian at this point in my life, but my son is. And so we just decided we wanted people to have something good they can get like off the shelf or something delivered to their door. So we just made that commitment. And so I know it does for some people, it is a huge undertaking, but we just said, this is what we're going to do, because as Black people, we deserve luxury. We deserve the best, and we should be drinking good wine that also is good for us. So let's go for it.
Okay. So Kevin and I are drinking Chardonnay. What you got over there today?
So I joined in the party, and I am, let me get the wine. I am drinking our Manifest Chardonnay. So I always tell people, and I think this is like, none of this was planned, brothers. So I just want to say that my dad loves Chardonnay.
Wow.
So when I started making wine, he was like, what I know you're going to do is make me a really good Chardonnay that I can just have one glass of and I'm good. So it's a 14% ABV, the alcohol content. It is lightly oaked, so it is really mostly in stainless steel. So it's really crisp, really citrusy. My dad loves it. When I send my mom a box of wine, I make sure there's 2 or 3 bottles because he wants to take his out. He has his own. My parents live in North Carolina. That's my family home. So my dad has his own man cave. So he stocks bottles in the man cave. And so when I come, he's always going to be on the porch. You know, when he knows I'm coming and he's like, okay, have you hit the mountains? I'm like, I'm in the mountains. He's chilling the wine. And so when I come down through the mountains, you know, I'm already going to have my mom's made something really good that's plant-based. My dad's going to eat the chicken wings. And, you know, we're going to sit and we're going to open a bottle of Chardonnay and we're just going to chill. And then my mom's from Japan, so I'm usually going to have sushi with her. So it's usually like a sushi meal. And so because she's like, okay, what do I make? And I'm like, sushi always wins. So, and she can make it from scratch.
I need to hang out with your family.
You need to come. They're in North Carolina. It's beautiful. They're in the middle of nowhere. Cell phone might work if you're not Verizon.
I have Verizon.
Yours word.
I lived in North Carolina for 2 years. And
so you know.
Like I said, you can get a cheaper plan. Like I need one that works.
Yes, you need, and that's my parents are from Verizon, but they got a hot tub. We're in the middle of nowhere. They got their own pond that they've built. It is my go-to space. Like, but yes, but I tell people this Chardonnay, I tell them it's not your daddy's Chardonnay. So in tribute of fatherhood, and all things Black fathers.
So it's called Manifest. And so I want you to tell us, just, you know, in a few minutes about your wines, because they all have powerful words as the names of the wines.
They do. So it is the 7 Words wine collection. So there's 7 different words, and all of them are about being inspirational and inspiring people to really live their best life and to have what we deserve. So that manifest is, what do you want to manifest in your life? Like, what is it you want to have this year, 5 years, 3 years? And like you were saying, brother, like for me, I have 2 children that have just graduated from college last year. And, you know, they're finding their way, they're figuring it out. And it's interesting to watch, you know, them like, what's the path? And I have a house divided because I live in Indiana.
Okay.
And I have an IU, an Indiana University graduate, and a Purdue University graduate. So I have this huge divide in my house, but it's super fun. I'm like, I love both of you. You know, you got you educated, we got you through. But and we manifested 2 college graduates, so now they can go forth and be great out here in the world.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It's a great, you know, relief when your kids are out there. And I know, you know, we all as parents, sometimes it's hard for us to watch them find their own way. We kind of just want to pick them up and say, no, you need to be right here, you know. But you know, we just got to watch it, and you know, they figure it out.
I'm going through that.
Yeah, you never stop with me because it's a new class. I mean, I thought you thinking it's all done, but you know, you were 30 at one time, and you know some things that happen when you're 30, and you like we hadn't talked about that when you were 20. So
right, and you got to keep up. And I am the realistic parent. So my children's father and I, we are divorced, but we co-parent, and so I'm the like he's calling. He's like, they did this, and I'm like. You got to punish him on that because I already did that.
Yeah,
I already did that. So I can't be authentic in my punishment because I'm going to be like, did it hurt? Did you have fun? So I have to like push that on him. And so like my daughter just came back from Cancun and he's like, did you know? And I'm like, yeah, you didn't know? He was like, I knew when she got there. You know, they're kidnapping people. So we just had this fun thing. She's back. She's fine.
Yeah.
But he was just like, I'm like, you can track her on your phone. He was like, why would I think to look? I didn't know she was out of the country. Yeah. So it was super funny. So they had their whole moment. And I was just like, I'm just going to drink some wine while y'all have this moment. And I'm like, oh, she's going
Yeah.
somewhere else, and like
Yeah.
at the end of the next month, and then
Right,
she got
yeah.
another plan. So I just like, I'm gonna stay over here in my house.
Exactly. And it never, as you said, Kevin,
Yes.
parenthood never ends. It
Right.
Never
just
ends.
changes
Yeah.
seasons, and it just goes into a new phase. I know you're a grandfather and I'm
Yeah.
a grandmother, so this is really, it's kind of a fun season for me because these are the beautiful kids. This is why we had these kids, to have these cool kids. So
True.
this is
Yeah.
exactly why. But as Nicole said, I'm too a daddy's girl. My dad was a single dad from the time I was 5.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I like to say we grew up together.
Yes.
Doing it,
And so,
okay. Yeah.
what you wrote is so important, to kind of leave that story for
Sure.
them. Because my father passed away 5 months ago.
Mm.
And so, even though I knew him, but there were still things that I probably knew, but I forgot.
Yeah.
And so, but having, you kind of left a blueprint
Yeah.
of who
Yeah.
you are and the things that were significant to you. So I don't know when you were writing that, if that was your goal, to kind of just put it out there so she knows her dad. She knows who Kevin Patrick is.
When I first had this thought to write this story, I had a thought to only write about my daughter and this relationship. What I figured out was that when I started this thing, that I'll say unashamedly that God put on my heart, that when I started it, I soon figured out that I couldn't tell about my desire without telling about where I came from. So it got to be a bonus because, some of these things, there's some things that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
That you choose not to. I mean, I'm not saying that they're really bad, but this, you're not just talking about it. But for this, I did because I couldn't explain my full motivation without giving you the backdrop about, right?
You got to give the why. The why.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, why you won't let me go out with this boy when I'm 14? It's,
Come on.
but it's like, you understand these stories, it's like, all right, then.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And daddy's always right.
Yeah.
We don't know it then, but daddy's always right.
Yeah.
Look, and for these lessons, I mean, you have to do what you can. I mean, so I grew up in Oakland, and it was when I was 12, we was doing different stuff, right?
Okay.
Just fully different, right? When I was just growing up, and where we grew up now in Aurora, suburban Colorado. I remember, and she was doing good in school. So one day I come home and the phone rings because they'll call you. You get a recording that said your kid missed school. So, right. So I get a message and I'm like, oh, that's strange. So Asha comes home and I'm like, hey, Asha, I got a call. Said that you missed school. She was like, okay, yeah. Me and Brittany, we skipped class. We went to the library to study for a test. And I was like, dang. I was like, what? You skipped class? Right? I'm like, oh, next thing you're gonna be lying and cutting class and smoking weed. I just went all in.
You just went way over there. You started at 2 and now you at 62. Come on now, Kevin.
I went all in because that was my only chance. I didn't want to do it, but we teaching. So anyway, that's a real story. I mean, I got excited. I really did get excited.
And listen to the testament. She cut class to go to the library. Now we cut class. We were nowhere near school. So
we ain't talking about
nowhere near like doing everything else. She was like, I'm at the library. I'm like,
library. You
I'm
gotta
not
be
sure how that works.
Oh yeah, you need to read that part of the story. Yeah. When she was, yeah.
So tell us, Kevin, how can folks get your book?
If you Google my name, Kevin Patrick, Fatherhood, what you'll come up with is a whole bunch of places where you can buy it, but it's at Amazon. And this book has kind of taken me by surprise, but they're selling my book all around the world, in Africa, in the UK, and other places. And
that's awesome.
And I didn't do it. I got to tell you that. I mean, this is I self-published. I was just being obedient to what I think I should have did. And And I won't go into a whole lot, but I tell you that that God has provided, and He's opened up doors that have really blown me away. But Kevin Patrick, Fatherhood.
Well, reading the book, everybody would know that you are a man of faith. So I really appreciate you being here.
Cool.
More so, I appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you.
Nicole, how can we get this wine? Sip and share.
So we're available at our website, sipandShareWines.com. But you can also, depending upon where you live, we're in Happy Cork in Brooklyn, New York. We are at 1010 Wines out in Inglewood, California. We will soon be at the Book Bar in Richmond, Virginia, coming soon. So we're all kind of around the country. So just follow us around. We're at Sip and Share Wines on all of our social media, and you can kind of see what we're doing. And we will be in Richmond, Virginia in June, mid-June.
Yes, for the exclusive blacklist.
For the exclusive blacklist.
That website's going to be up by the time the show airs. So
yes,
I'll give you that information. But real quick, I just want to tell you about the Books and Bottles Retreat, the Right Away. This is for writers, editors, illustrators, publishers, everybody who is in that writing realm. Hit us up. We're going to be, this is the website, therightaway.net. It's going to be in Norfolk, Virginia, June 3rd through 5th. So visit the website. If there are authors viewing today, or you know authors and they like to be on Books and Bottles, have them email us at info@grod.com. Send us your book and we'll get back with you with the date and we'll have you on the show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to share Books and Bottles, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Hey, can I order your wine online if I go?
Yes, you can order it.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.